So if you've spent any amount of time on Twitch, you know about Twitch bits. They're the online currency that you can buy from Twitch and then turn around and donate them to streamers. Well, on the Overwatch League Twitch channel, you could donate bits in support of a specific Overwatch League team. When you did this, the stream counted it, and over the entire season, the stream had a running total of all the bits donated in the name of each Overwatch League team. It was meant to be a fun little side competition, to go, oh, this is the most popular Overwatch League team. Or maybe, oh, this team has the most wealthy fans. They would pop up the top 10 leaderboard near the end of every Watchpoint post-show to talk about it, but I always tuned out when they got to this point. I mean, there was no need. Why watch that segment when the same team was at the top of the leaderboards with no real challengers since week 2? How did they do it? Well, the obvious answer is to point out the extremely popular streaming personality that the team signed on. They had just the right mix of personality, memes, drama, and talent to keep fans engaged even after that personality eventually left. So much that I'm not the least bit surprised that this team has been the most requested season in review video all the way back to when I started it. So let's not stall any further and talk about the Atlanta Reign. The Atlanta Reign were one of Overwatch League's expansion teams going into Season 2, and they're owned by Cox Enterprises. For those who don't know, this company is massive. They have subdivisions in media, automotives, and communications, so they are everywhere, and boast $21 billion in total revenue. Yeah, being the major player behind Atlanta Esports Ventures is almost just like ticking off a checkbox for them. And for Overwatch League, having a company like Cox investing in their product meant huge dollar signs. So the first thing that the Reign did after they were announced as a team was getting their coaching staff together. Atlanta's head coach would be Sephi, though you may know him as Brad. Back in the pre-Overwatch League days, Sephi was the head coach of an extremely popular team called Selfless. Selfless was known for their aggressive playstyle, often spawn camping with their Tracer and Soldier comps, and they were the place where players like Sinatra got their start. After Selfless disbanded, Sephi went to join the Shock, where he stayed for a few stages until getting ousted for Krusty. After that, he went back to Contenders and coached a team called Last Night's Leftovers to a playoff appearance while being one of the first unsigned teams to beat an Overwatch League Academy team. After that achievement, Atlanta was ready to welcome him. Joining Sephi as assistant coaches was Silence, who was also on LNL, and Casores, who was coming off of a playoff appearance with Team 1 Point in Contenders Europe. With what looked to be a strong coaching staff assembled, the team got to work in building their roster. And build they did. Unlike some other expansion teams who tried to pick up most or all of an existing Contenders team, Atlanta reached into many different talent pools from many regions and many different levels of prestige to build an intriguing team of rookies. Let's start by talking about the tanks, because they were one of the most exciting parts. See, Atlanta picked up the tank duo of Pakpo and Dako, formerly from the Korean Contenders team Element Mystic. As semi-finalists in the latest season of Contenders Korea, these two were considered one of the best tank lines not in Overwatch League, so Atlanta getting both of them was a huge deal. Preseason, the tank line was considered probably the best part of the team because of that existing synergy. Supplementing them on a two-way contract was Gator. Gator is a very interesting pickup as the Reinhardt behind GOATS. You know, the team that pioneered the dominant meta of the time. So getting one of the fathers of GOATS, so to speak, was seen as a huge deal, especially since we wouldn't be seeing anything different for a long time. On support, the team turned to Europe. On main support, they had Masa from the European superpower Giganti, while on flex support, they picked up Kodak from a newly successful team called Snakes, and from Team Germany in the Overwatch World Cup. And as the season grew closer, the team also picked up Dogman, formerly from Last Night's Leftovers and also the newly formed Atlanta Academy team. Finally, on DPS, the Reign picked up Lair, a Russian hitscan specialist who had also played for LNL, as well as Erster, an under-the-radar but talented flex DPS who had been dominating Chinese contenders with Lucky Future Zenith. And then, of course, there was the Fran.
Okay, I'm gonna pretend I'm AFK. Hey, she's leaving! Get
Nice.
Let's go!
Defran was very possibly the most mechanically skilled player to have never played in Overwatch League or even Contenders. Instead, he used his mind-boggling tracking, infectious personality, and mastery of heroes like Tracer, Soldier76, and Torb to build a massive following on Twitch, where he currently sits at over 500,000 followers. Not to mention that as a former member of Selfless, Defran knows and trusts Sephi due to their past experiences. This is probably a big reason why Defran decided to go to Overwatch League after over a year of no official competitive experience. Of course, this couldn't come without a catch, because Defran has a long history of dealing with toxicity-related controversies that have gotten him suspended from playing at Selfless and even banned from the game multiple times. So as we got ready to start the season, the Reign were in a very boom-or-bust kind of situation. They were bringing people from all over the world to play together for the first time, and you never quite know what will happen in that kind of scenario. People were looking forward to a tank line of Pokpo and Dako for sure, and Masa was seen as a strong main support, but there were question marks everywhere else. No one was discounting Defran's tracking and mechanical skill, but there were people who doubted his ability to stay in an organized team environment. Meanwhile, players like Kodak, Dogman, and Gator were seen as gamble picks. They were good gambles, but gambles nonetheless. Because of this, most analysts placed the Reign anywhere between 10th and 15th place overall. But Atlanta came out of the gate looking pretty strong. Of course, the very first time they took the stage, we had to see Defran on the Torb.
Defran is picking one hero we have not seen in the Overwatch League. He's on the Torb. It's hammer time.
This is it! It's happening!
In fact, for all the concerns that there were about Defran's ability to function in an organized team, he made his mark on the league at just one stage. From one of the most mind-blowing plays in the entirety of the GOATS era.
This whole first fight phase in Point B. What is this?
What are they doing right now?
That is interesting.
That is a
Can
really...
you get over the roof there?
Oh my.
Oh
my, what a play, what a grab!
Tosses in the ground, they're gonna make it work, and Cruz taken out by the ensuing self-destruct.
To even plugging his Twitch stream in the middle of a post-game interview.
A huge moment. Do you have anything you want to say to your fans?
With the help of Twitch Prime, I immediately managed to pop off. Okay, do you guys want to know why she looked shocked? It was actually supposed to be a scripted interview. He came to me and said, okay, I'm gonna hype you up, and all you're gonna say is, let's go, dude. And I said, yeah, okay. I didn't do it, dude.
Defran was funny, PMA, and surprisingly good at Zarya. As far as the rest of the team went, there was a lot of promise. Dako had identified himself early as a Rookie of the Year candidate, at least on the off-tank position as he displayed a stellar diva, while Masa's Lucio was quietly one of the better ones in the league. The biggest concerns here were Pokpo, who was alright but would often get a little too over-aggressive without the support of his team, and by far the most shaky area of flex support. As we would later learn in a report from Halo of Thoughts, Dako was not happy about Kodak in the starting flex support role and complained to staff pretty constantly about it. This seemed to eventually lead the team to pick up Dogman so close to the start of the season, and because of that, they used Stage 1 to really test them both out. Kodak and Dogman would swap places on stage multiple times, and while neither of them played that well to start the season, there was one thing that differentiated Dogman from everyone else. His mouth.
Reverse sweep, reverse sweep, reverse sweep, let's go! Hey, Corbett, you suck! Tell the Jonak fan to swap sides! Hey, swap sides, you're not on our side, buddy! Swap over! Cruz is a feeder!
Dogman has been one of the loudest people to ever grace the stage, often hyping up the crowd and shouting trash talk to the other team in the middle of a match. He just said what he thought. While having someone like this on the team would have its downsides, and we'll get to that later, Dogman's personality was the kind of thing that people remembered, and both the team and fanbase rallied around him, as there weren't many players like him in the Overwatch League. I can't lie, that's probably part of the reason why Dogman ended up taking the starting flex support spot. So after pulling off wins against Florida, Toronto, Paris, and Houston, the Atlanta Reign were able to qualify for the stage playoffs as the 5th seed in their first stage of existence, which is pretty crazy. While the team wasn't able to defeat the Fusion in the quarterfinals, falling 3-1, this team had an insane amount of hype around it, and was only expected to get better as the season went on and they got more comfortable with each other. But between stages 1 and 2, the Reign dropped a bombshell when they announced that Defran would be leaving the Reign as a competitive player, instead moving to a spot on their stream team. This was really sad, but I get it, I guess. Defran played in Overwatch League for a stage, just to prove to himself and everyone else that he could, and then left to go back to streaming, which was probably making him more money anyways. In other words, he decided to die a hero instead of becoming the villain. I'm not sure if we'll ever see a more successful Overwatch career that only lasted one stage. Honestly, Defran, if you're watching this, thanks for your time in the league. I personally had a blast watching you, and I know I wasn't the only one. Also, on the off chance that I'm on stream, hi chat! Anyways, while Nair was certainly a good hit scan, the Reign signed another in order to fill the roster slot that Defran left behind. This would end up being Babybay. Now, Babybay has had an interesting career in Overwatch League, where he started on the San Francisco Shock in Season 1. While no one was doubting his mechanical talent, his decision making needed some work, and eventually he got benched in favor of Architect when he joined up. Babybay was at the bottom of a stupidly stacked DPS line on the Shock, and he hadn't played an official game in almost a full season, so when the Reign offered him a slot to start, I'm sure he jumped at the chance. But the Reign signed a second player to the team in this time frame, FRD, or Fried, depending on when you first heard of him. FRD was a relatively unknown off-tank prospect, but as a member of Second Wind over the last 4 months, he had helped the team to a semi-final finish in the most recent season of Contenders North America. So, cool, a little more depth at off-tank, but no big deal, right? Well, no, because in the first game of Stage 2, FRD was starting. Why? I mean, FRD wasn't bad, but Dako was the most explosive diva almost for certain, and he had incredible amounts of synergy with Pokpo. Why throw that away? Well, remember when I talked about Dako's temperament being an issue before, when he complained about Kodak? Well, in the same article, Halo claimed that Dako's comments after the playoffs loss to the Fusion went just a little bit too far, and as a result, management decided to bench him for 2 weeks. Therefore, here was FRD to fill the spot. This was an uncomfortable stage for the Reign. Not only were they dealing with the Dako situation and the inevitable aftermath that came with it, but Babybay started immediately on stage for the Reign, and it obviously took him a few weeks to feel comfortable as the aforementioned decision-making issue reared its ugly head once again. Pokpo looked even more uncomfortable without Dako by his side, Dogman was improving, but still not quite on the level that the team needed him to be on, etc. So for the most part, the Reign struggled hard this stage. Except for one thing. In Week 3 of Stage 2, the Reign were slated to go up against the NYXL. Coincidentally, this was the game that Dako re-entered the starting lineup. But at this point, the NYXL hadn't lost a game in the regular season yet. They were 12-0. Meanwhile, the Reign had only just snapped a 4-game losing streak by defeating the lowly Justice. But in this game, the NYXL looked off. They were sluggish and unsure of themselves, possibly due to a tough matchup against the Fusion just a day before. And the Reign took advantage, aggressively pushing the Excelsior further and further until they just snapped.
Nice!
Let's go.
Come on, guys. Okay, now we win. Yeah, 2 minutes. But I want 4-0. You know? What? We win already, but I want 4-0. 4-0? Yeah.
We need the 4-0.
4-0? Oh, wait, we win? Yeah. We win right now. We win. Oh my god! We won! Okay, we win.
The Atlanta Reign defeated the NYXL, becoming the first team to achieve this in the regular season. And if that wasn't impressive enough for you, they did it again 2 weeks later. There's not even an excuse this time. You want to know the last game that the NYXL had? The first game against the Reign. No, the Reign just had NYXL figured out. And while they would get just 3 wins this stage, the fact that 2 of them were against New York gave fans plenty of reason to remain optimistic. In Stage 3, the Reign stabilized somewhat from the craziness of Stage 2, at least emotionally, but in-game, this was their worst stage. I mean, any stage where you have to play the Shock and the Titans in back-to-back games is already brutal, and then you add the eventual Stage 3 champion Dragons and other strong competitors like the Dynasty and the Fusion, and the fact that this team went to 5 maps so many times is actually kind of a testament to their strength. But in the end, a loss is a loss, and the losses were piling up, obviously affecting a team with so many strong personalities on it, especially since the team was still experimenting with FRD versus Dako in the starting off-tank position at this point. It was a little unfortunate that the Reign had their homestand during this tough time frame. I mean, by all accounts, the homestand was an overall success. We had some really fun moments, like Brand's entrance when he was about to face BabyBay in a Widow 1v1.
You guys hear that? You don't hear it? You don't hear it? Because I'm hearing something. Oh no. You gave him walkout music? What the?
Or DeFran finally saying those 3 famous words at an Overwatch League broadcast.
Oh my, it's DeFran! Oh my word! I gotta ask you a question, man. What's going on? Anything you want to say to the people here in Atlanta? Let's go, dude!
Atlanta even got 2 wins at their homestand against the Defiant and the Mayhem, but that was the only 2 match wins that Atlanta got all stage. Yeah, they didn't make the Stage 3 playoffs, but with 3 at least decent stages, they were still very much in the running for the play-ins bracket. However, it became clear very quickly that the Reign didn't just want the play-in bracket. They wanted more, and they exploded in Season 2's final stage. I'm just gonna say it, they were perfect. 7-0, out of nowhere, the #1 best team in Stage 4. As a result, not only were the Reign able to qualify for the play-ins, but they finished in 6th place overall in the last second in order to skip straight to the overall playoffs bracket. How did they do this? Well, first of all, I've pointed out Dogman as a weakness of this roster a couple of times in this video, but he really did come into his own this stage. Maybe it was the opportunity to play more Ana, maybe it was just integrating with the team better, but Dogman was suddenly a really strong player. When it came to Roadhog, FRD took the starting role more often than not, and while he didn't pop off as much as he had a very supportive style of gameplay, I think the team enjoyed that more than Dako looking for flashy plays. And then there was Erster. Now, I've barely talked about Erster so far in this video, and that's because he was one of the unfortunate souls trapped in Brig Jail for the GOATS meta. Not much to talk about there, but in the few times that he did get on DPS, and especially in Stage 4 with the introduction of Roll Q, Erster made every other team in the league regret passing him by in the offseason.
Have ultimates coming online now. Dogman again going to be starting off with the coalescence. And Ursa goes in with a massive seismic slam. Will this take down 2? Then he gets the uppercut on Naria. That will be the cleanup here. Absolutely, the Kings survives. He's going to be spamming in those apes, trying to go ahead and lob them up over top of the shield. Actually, we'll find the connection, and BabyBay manages to take down Jonak. It is a slaughter!
The rest will fall. And one of the reasons that Reaper has always been okay-ish in certain spots. What a clutch! That's ridiculous. That was sick. Oh, there it is. EMP right over the top. That's a whole lot of action. And it's brutal! The stick from Erster. 4 kills. No way to defend themselves. Erster just aced it. 6 kills for him.
Simply put, the Reign had no weaknesses. Everyone at the starting roster was functioning as a well-oiled machine at an incredibly high level, and the team knew it too. And this is where Dogman's mouth worked against him. See, in the last week of the season, the Kit Kat rivalry weekend, the Reign faced off against the Dallas Fuel. Dallas's head coach, Arrow, was also the head coach of USA's Overwatch World Cup team, which had recently announced their 7-man roster. Not only did they not pick up Dogman, but they passed on other American talents on the team like BabyBay, FRD, and Gator. So when the Reign ended up defeating the Fuel, Dogman couldn't pass up the opportunity to rub it in a little.
You know, after every game we beat like some of the Team USA players, so there's a little bit of a grudge between all of our American players. We have 5 Americans on our team, and none of them got picked up for Team USA, and we just beat Coach Arrow. So what I can say to Coach Arrow is GG, buddy.
Afterwards, in a post-game press conference, he doubled down, saying that Arrow is a nice guy, but I think he's incompetent. Now, all things considered, this wasn't that bad, but in Overwatch League, public trash talk isn't very common in any form. So when this happened, everyone went a little crazy, whether you were defending Dogman or Arrow. Dogman received enough backlash that he walked out for the next game in a clown outfit, because of course he would. But that was just a minor setback, and on the stage, Atlanta was red hot and ready to roll into the playoffs. Like I mentioned before, Atlanta's incredible Stage 4 placed them in 6th place overall, enough to skip the play-ins entirely. That was the good news. The bad news was that this pitted them against the 3rd-seeded Shock, aka the most consistently dominant team of Season 2, and every rational person's pick to win the whole thing. It looked like Atlanta was just San Francisco's first step to the trophy, but the Reign weren't going to go down that easily. See, out of nowhere, after playing a mixture of Dako and FRD over the season, Gator, of all people, was the one taking the stage in Atlanta's most important game so far. And anyone who was questioning this was proven wrong instantly.
Docker place that within range for Atlanta to get rid of it. And they do, after they get rid of Choi Open there. That was interesting setup by Smurf. Can this be recovered by the Shock? They're going to invest in the no sound barrier here. Sinatra, he's going to get dropped. Yeah, 2 for Gator. Again, just a quick look at the health bars of the enemies that were suspended in midair. Gator makes it 4. That's just disgusting.
Turns out, Gator had been grinding Sigma, Overwatch's new hero, for the playoffs, and that grind paid off in this game. Not only did Gator out-duel Choi Hyobin on Sigma, but Urster popped off on Doomfist, Baby Bay was great on Reaper, Masa and Dogman and Pokpo, they were all great! And they used all of it against a Shock team that didn't look completely comfortable in a double shield meta. This resulted in arguably the best game in the entirety of the postseason, a 7-map thriller that went back and forth until the C9 heard round the world.
That is how Atlanta wants to combo. Dramatic Flux, Gator! Had to be a sound barrier! Smurf able to stay alive, but for how long? The Flux also coming out for the Shock. Smurf is down. Massa is removed into 1-for-1, but Poke Push, people charging. No! Oh, no! They got to walk off the sea! What? They walked off the car! Unbelievable! The Shock are stunned!
This is where things start looking excellent, but it's where the mistakes start happening for San Francisco as well. The Supercharger is down, they go in with the Gravitic Flux, and this is Choi Oben floating above everybody in the air with the Gravitic Flux up. He's going to use it as the San Francisco Shock start going forwards, but at the same time, it's this guy here, Urster, who causes ridiculous problems for them, because the whole of Shock would love to be going forwards and taking advantage of this Gravitic Flux coming out, but instead, what happens is they've got a sneaky, pesky little Doomfist in their backline who's distracting all 3 of these guys. And between them, they need to be able to find a pick. But they've got 4 people here. 1, 2, 3, 4 people on one guy. One guy. And meanwhile, Choi Oben's floating in the backline trying to get something done. But Choi Oben's just trying to draw eyes and pull everybody back. It's really on somebody in the backline to be able to get it done. You can see here that Choi Oben's trying his best just to drag people away and get picks from the back. He's hoping that one of these 4 players, and obviously now Moth is in the backlines over here as well, will be able to actually get onto the cart. But none of them do. They all just sit here at the back, trying to deal with Urster, trying to chip him down, and they don't realize until the card is capped that they've expended too many resources on the Doomfist.
Atlanta had done it. They had pulled off the upset, sending San Francisco to the losers bracket ridiculously early. Unfortunately, it didn't do much other than light a fire under San Francisco, and we know what happened after that. Meanwhile, Atlanta was never able to replicate that success, taking 2 losses to the NLAG Cell and the Spark to leave Overwatch League in 5th place overall. From a spectator's point of view, the Atlanta Reign are everything that you want in an Overwatch League team. They have the personalities, they have the drama, and they have the talent to succeed. I have no trouble believing that the Reign were the most popular team in Overwatch League, and that does mean something. On the stage though, Atlanta did have their ups and downs. While drama is good for views, I can't imagine that it was good for team morale. While they did go 7-0 in Stage 4, I can't completely discount the 2-5 Stage 3. But when I think back at Atlanta's season, I feel happy. Not just because of the success that they had, but because I enjoy so many people who are on that team. Atlanta ended the season as one of the top teams in Overwatch through their play, and arguably the most fun team to watch through their personalities. And you can't forget that this is the only team to even take a map off of the Shock in the postseason, let alone an entire match. That's why my final rating for the Atlanta Reign and Season 2 of the Overwatch League is an A-. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed looking back at Atlanta's season as much as I did. What do you think about the Reign's high-powered lineup for Season 3? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you liked this video, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like. Unfortunately, this is the last season in review episode I'll get to make before I have to go back to school, but I'm committed at this point. I'm going to finish this series, so be sure to subscribe to be notified of every new episode. Let's see where we're going next. Ooh, NYXL. This'll be a fun one. Stay tuned to hear their story, but until then, don't get tilted.